Rocky. Shh.
Hello, everyone. So I'm here to help you familiarize yourselves with the functionalities that are available in the NAPLAN test. So sometimes we get stressed during the test, and we know it's an online test. And sometimes if it's the first time that we're logging onto it, it adds to our stress. So how are you going to access those? There would be several ways. I'll show you two ways today. One is logging on to our numeracy at SAC. You'd know that it would be under the school favorites, which is under numeracy at SAC. And you just click on that one and this site would pop up. And you would need to just click on NAPLAN public demonstration site. You might need to scroll down a bit. And if you click on that one, you can scroll down, you can choose E7 or E9, and this page here should appear. The other way would be for you to simply type in NAPLAN public demonstration site, which is already what I've got there. Then you hit enter and it should be the first one that appear, and you hit whichever is relevant to you. Okay, so if we go to that one, we want to have a look at the numeracy one. The functionalities would include calculators there, rulers and protractors, and you want to know where they are and how to use them. Okay, so let's click on numeracy. You want to click on the standard test, and your teacher during the day will be the one to give you the codes here. So don't worry about this, but they should be available on the day, and the same thing with this one. Okay, now once you put in the correct codes, you would need to make sure that the name that appears is yours. You don't want to be doing someone else's NAPLAN. Okay, right, so let's hit yes, that is us, and therefore we've got, well, this one has 13 questions, but the real one would actually have about, I think it's 48 questions, and you will have 65 minutes to complete the whole test. Okay, now the test itself, if you look at this one here, the test itself would have 4 parts. Okay, the first part, you won't be able to use your calculator, and you know that you won't be able to use your calculator because the only ones that are here are the ruler and the protractor. If you would be allowed to use a calculator, then there's another icon here that appears that you can hit and a calculator would pop up. Okay, now there's also functionality here wherein you could actually get someone to read it to you, right? So you hit that press button.
Henry collects bottles to recycle. He puts them into crates. Each crate holds 20 bottles. Henry fills 3 crates and has 4 bottles left over. How many bottles have Henry collected altogether?
Okay, so if you hit that, then the problem will be read to you. Okay, so we've got this problem here. What could be our answer? It says each crate holds 20 bottles. So that's 20, another 20, and another 20. A more efficient way would be to say 3 lots of 20 would give you 60, and you've got 4 that would be left over here, and therefore the answer would be 64. Okay, now this question here is what we call a multiple choice question, and there's only one answer to this question. Okay, so let's hit next. All right, so the next question, maybe you say, I can read it myself, but again, that would just be available to you. Okay, so it says here there are 9 books on each of 4 shelves. Mary rearranged the books so that the top shelf was empty and each of the other 3 shelves had an equal number of books. How many books were then on each of these shelves? Okay, you could probably say it's 9 times 4, you get 36. And if there are only 3 shelves there, then 36 divided by 3, you get 12. Or if you're visual like me, then you could probably say, well, I want these gone, right? And then you could say and I know there's 9 books here and I've got 9 shelves here. And I might say you've got these 3 books here, move that there, another 3 books that middle there, move it here, and these books here, 3 over here. And you've got all of those 36 books on the shelf on 3 shelves, so that you've got 3 added to each shelf. You've got 3 plus 9, you get 12. Okay, so different ways of doing it depending on how you see it. Okay, so put that in, that's 12. Say next. Says here, Rick is a manager at a shoe company. He notices that 57 of their 1,000 special orders are for purple shoes. Type this proportion as a decimal in the box below. What I forgot to mention to you earlier was that during the test, you will be allowed to you will be given a blank sheet of paper and use it for your rough working. Okay, and of course, you bring your own pen, you bring your own pencil, whichever one you want, but this is really for just your rough working. Your teachers will collect it at the end of the test session. Okay, so what that means is you can write down your thinking on the piece of paper, and that would help you figure out what the answer is. Okay, so it says there we want 57 out of 100. 1,000. So when you have 57 out of 1,000, that is read in fraction as 57 thousandths, which is perfect because that is actually how you read a decimal of 0.057, and therefore we say, or 57 thousandths, which is read properly in decimal, and we put that in. You say next. Says here, Tim looks at the menu. There are 3 courses. He can choose a starter, a main meal, and a dessert. So you've got there, which 2 of these show a way to calculate the number of different 3-course meals Tim can choose. Right. So did you notice that this one here is a box and not a circle? Unlike if we go back to, I think it was the first question, unlike this one here, which is a circle. And I did tell you that this is what you call a multiple choice question. This time, this one here is not a multiple choice question, okay? There would be multiple answers here, and it would tell you here that you would need to choose 2, okay? Sometimes they don't tell it, right? But once you see a square instead of a circle, that means you need to tick 2 of them, okay? Or more than 1, I should say, okay? So with this one, this is part of your probability. And since there are 2 choices for your starters, you say it's 2 times how many choices you have for the main meals. It's 3, so it's 2 times 3, and then times 2. So it would be this one here, there. Right, so 2 times 3 times 2, or the other one would be 3 times 2 times 2, which is equivalent to that, okay? These 2 here won't be equal to 2 times 3 times 2, okay? So you hit next. Now, after a few questions, not just 4 questions that you will have for the non-calculator test, they will give you this warning here that you won't be able to go back to those questions, okay? Because for the next 3 sections of the test, an icon here would appear that you will be able to use a calculator, okay? So if you're sure with your answers, then you can hit yes. If you want to go back to your answers, then you would be able to select whichever one you want to go back to. Okay, so let's go to the next one. All right, so that one there is what I was talking to you about earlier. That's the icon for your calculator. If you press that, that one appears. Okay, the other one would be your protractor. Click on that one again, it will go back, and then you have your ruler. Let's have a look at this question here. It says match these events to their probability. Okay, so you would need to tick 1 for each row. Okay, a toss coin will show heads. So is that 0? Is that greater than 0 or less than 1? So a toss coin will show heads. That wouldn't be 0. That wouldn't be 1. it would have to be greater than 0 and less than 1. A tossed coin will land on either heads or tails. So it's either heads or tails, and therefore that would be 100% that it's certain that it will happen. A tossed coin will show a 6. There is no 6 in the in tossing a coin, and therefore that is impossible. The probability would be 0. Okay. If you try and clicking on another box, it will not let you do that. Okay. Again, this is a box because you have to tick more than 1. Okay. So let's go to the next one. Another probability question. It says, Luke spins the arrow on the spinner once. Place these events into order from impossible to certain. So this is our spinner here. We've got 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. It says landing on a number less than 5. Are there any numbers here that would be less than 5? None, and therefore that would be possible, right? What could be the next one? Landing on an odd number, right? Well, how many odd numbers do we have? We've got 25, but then we don't know if we are going to put that here or there. So let's have a look at the next one. It says landing on a number less than 30. If it's landing on a number less than 30 and all of them would be less than 30, then if you think that this should go here under certain, then you're correct. Okay, so this time we'll just be comparing these two. It says landing on a number divisible by 10. We've got 10 and 20, so there's only 2 of them, as opposed to those that would be odd numbers, which are 3 of them, and therefore you have divisible by 10 would be less probable than landing on an odd number. Okay, so let's move on to the next. So other questions would look like this. It's a matching type activity. So there are 5 vertices. Vertices would be the plural form for vertex. So this has 5 vertices, and therefore you have that there. Or when you say vertex, that's a point or an angle. And this one would have what? 4 vertices, and then 3 vertices. Okay, easy peasy. Let's try this one here. Now, this one here, if you get confused with this one, so maybe what you could do, you say, I might probably skip it and then think about the answer and then go back to it later. What you could do, you could flag it, just like this one here. Okay, so we'll probably flag that, and let's see. So we go back to this. A tangram is a puzzle made from cutting a large square into 7 pieces, 5 triangles, 1 square, and a parallelogram. You need to choose all the pieces that are triangles in the tangram below. So that's triangle, 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 triangle. This one's a square. That one is a parallelogram. Right, and you go next. Now, this one here, we might need to use our calculator, right? So let's use that, and let's make that available here. I don't know if I can move that yet. You can move that. So you say, Mara buys 1,000 plants at $2.25 each to sell at the weekend markets. She sells 350 of these plants for $6 each. Mara sells the rest of the plants in a sale for $1 each. It says altogether, Mara makes a blank of blank on the sale of these plants. If you actually click on this one, you would have a choice between whether she gets a profit or a loss. And this one here, whether if the profit or loss was 150, 500, or 2,750. Okay, so let's analyze the question. So if she buys 1,000 plants for $2.25, then you would probably say you want to multiply 1,000 by $2.25. And if you're clever, you know the trick for multiplying by 1,000, because it has 3 zeros. You move the decimal point 3 units to the right. You go 1, 2, 3. You add in another 0. Therefore, you get 2,250. Okay, so we know that she spent 2,250. So maybe you want to write it down on your piece of paper. You go 2,250 And we calculate, the next one says she sells it for 300, she sells 350 of these plants for $6 each. So we go 350 times it by $6, and you get 2,100, right? The rest of them, she just sold them at a special price of $1 each. If she was able to sell 350, the remaining plants would be 650. So now you add the 650, you get what? 2,750. Okay, so we saw a while ago that there was an option for 2,750, and we don't rush to say that's the answer because that's what I got here. But understanding the problem, firstly, we need to evaluate whether she made money or not. So did she make money? The cost of those plants is 2,250, but then she was able to make 2,750. And if you said she made a profit, you're right. And how much was the profit? You just minus the 2,750, 2,750 minus them to 2,750 minus 2,250, which gives you $500. Okay, we might not need a calculator, but then we might need a ruler. Right, so let's have a look at that ruler there. And maybe a common mistake of some students is to put the ruler, the edge of the ruler on the edge of the car. But what you need to do is to put the 0 on the edge of the car, right? So that you say the length of that car is 6, all right? So you can keep the ruler for now, we don't need it. And we go next. This time you need a protractor. Right, how do we use a protractor? Let's probably read the question first. It says Max is building a cabinet for the corner of his living room. He needs to know the size of the angle made by these two walls. Right, so we place the center of the protractor on the vertex of the angle, right? And then we read where the number that the protractor tells us. What you need to do is to look at the other arm, right? And on that arm, it should say 0. So wherever it says 0, that's if it's under, then the number that you read would be the one that's below and not the one on the top. And therefore, it's 110, okay? How do you check? Well, we know this is an obtuse angle, and therefore it should be greater than 90, right? And if we had to choose between 70 and 110, the number that makes sense would have to be 110, okay? Right, so let's go back to that. We still have the last question. Right, it says here, a sport academy had 175 students. Of these students, 85 played cricket, 75 swam, 40 neither played cricket nor swam. Place the number into each box of the Venn diagram to show the students' participation. Right, so it says, well, this is what we call a Venn diagram, right? So we've got here 2 sets, those who play cricket and those who swim, right? Now, it says here, there are 40 who didn't play any of them. So maybe this one here would need to go outside, yeah? And if you add them, let's get the calculator out. We get, we want to have 107, we only have 175 students, right? So we have 85, 75, and 40. If we add them together, 40 and 75, if we add them together, we get 200, right? What does that mean? Well, we only have 175 students, but when we add these, we get 200. That means 25 of them would be doing or would be playing both cricket and swimming, right? Would be playing cricket or swimming. So then we say 25 would go here And how many played cricket? There's 85. 85 minus 25 is 60, and 75 swims, and therefore you have 75 minus 25, you get 50, right? And we can keep the calculator, and it will give us our progress summary. Now, the one, remember we flagged something a while ago, so you click on that one. Let's read it. It says, Kara stands on the paver in the middle of the garden, facing the bird bath. She walks west 3 pavers. Kara then turns north and walks 3 pavers. She then turns to the east and walks 2 pavers. Choose a paver to show where Kara is standing now. Okay, so she would be standing here. It says she walks west 3 pavers. 1, 2, 3. She then turns north and walks 3 pavers. 1, 2, 3. And then she turns to the east and walks 2 pavers. 1, 2, and therefore that is where she is. Okay. Now, the one thing that I was really confused about this one here is when they mentioned she was facing the bird bath. Okay. So sometimes in the problem, they actually give you more than what you need, or more information than what you actually need. Okay. Because when I was trying this question for the first time, it says facing the bird bath and she walks west. So I was thinking maybe her west. So I go 1, 2, 3, right? And then she turns north and walks 3 pavers. And now she's facing that way. She doesn't have any pavers to walk to. That just means that, you know, you don't have to do it the first time. So be just, you know, think, rethink, right? What could be another way of thinking about this problem, right? And just be patient with yourself when doing your NAPLAN questions, okay? So maybe we should unflag this now, and then we go back to this and we say finish. If you want to trial other questions, you could go to our numeracy at SAC. There are the year 7 questions there from last year's exemplar questions. The year 8 here that I've put here were actually the year 9 exemplar questions. So these are 3 questions per test. This one would have 5 questions per test. Okay, and I've made them so they look similar as well. So you would have your multiple choice questions. You also have your multi-answer question wherein it would require you to give more than one answer. Okay, so I hope that helps, and good luck and stay awesome. Bye.
Come on, Rocky, let's go.